Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. I am Brad Franklin. I am the Digital Media Relations Manager here in Chesterfield. Very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. Now, one of the great things about spring is we get back into like doing stuff outside season again, right? There are lots of things going around the county, around the community. There are festivals, there are events, there are things to bring the kiddos to, and we are going to talk about one of them coming up here soon with Earth Day. I'm very glad to welcome Lynne Wingfield from CFIT Community to talk all about that. Lynne, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am doing very well. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming by and talking to us a little bit about not just the Earth Day Festival, which we'll get to in a minute, but also CFIT Community, which I know is a thing that, you know, I've been in Chesterfield for several years now. And it's one of those things where like I thought I had a pretty good idea of what CFIT Community was, but I'm really interested to sort of hear some of the backstory and get into some of those details. Before we do that, I always like to start people out with a little bit of a introduction is not the right word, because really what I want folks to get a sense of is who they're hearing from, right? And so I thought I might start with, you know, a little bit about your background and how it is that you kind of came to be sitting across from me today. So what's your background with CFIT Community and how did you kind of get to it?
Yeah, so just a bit of a background from just career. Basically, I'm a Chesterfield for lifer. I have lived here the majority of my life.
Okay.
I was an OG Skyhawk from Byrd High School when it opened in 1978. Okay. I graduated from VCU in education and started teaching middle school in Chesterfield 1986. So yeah. quite a while ago. I taught for about 12 years, and then I moved to a leadership role with the school division. And my third part of my career, in 2009, the county and the schools created an employee wellness program. Okay. I'm really proud of them, focus on well-being for their employees. And I moved into that role, which was just so much fun. Yeah. I got to focus on happy, healthy, productive employees, and that really, really was a wonderful job to finish my career. Yeah. I retired in 2022.
You're right.
And from that position, and then was fortunate enough to come back in a part-time role in the county with the fabulous Office of Community Engagement and Resources. Right. So we basically the name of the department is what we do. Yeah. We engage with the community, whether it's aging and disabilities, whether it's multicultural youth, mobility services. We reach out to the community and connect them to resources. Yeah.
Now, I know that, you know, one of the things, I think it's really interesting to talk to anybody who has a third part of their career. I just think that that's an interesting way to frame it. But in terms of what, you know, you do with, with CFIT Community, I want to get a sense of, I want to get my arms around sort of the idea behind what CFIT Community is. How would you describe CFIT Community and the work of the group, and sort of how did this whole thing get started?
Right. Good question. So when I was in charge of the employee wellness program, the name of that program was CFIT. Right. As I did that, I worked with a lot of people in the health department, in the community, in the county, to connect our employees to resources. Right. A lot of those free, to even residents. It wasn't just employee-based. Right. So a year or two before I retired, sports backers had come to Chesterfield and asked about helping us create what they called an active living strategy. Right. So they wanted us to work on all things, whether it's creating more trails, whether it's working on hybrid schedules to give people the ability to do things with their families, those types of things. So we worked on this. We had a large committee of school and county employees, and we created this strategy alongside sports backers. Okay. So then we didn't know what to do with this strategy. So several of us from the county had decided to look at not just active living. Active living is fabulous, and being physically healthy is fabulous. Right. But we also know that physical is connected to mental, connected to spiritual, connected to all the pieces of well-being. Right. So a small group of us decided, let's focus on holistic wellness, take this strategy that we had created and really expand it. So at that point, the school division ran a program that was focused on student well-being, and that was called CFIT Students, and then we had the CFIT Employee Program. So we determined this community-facing piece would be called CFIT Community.
Right.
Now, being community, it wasn't going to be funded through the county. It needed to be set up as a nonprofit.
Right.
So we came across the wonderful partner, Virginia Credit Union,
Right.
who came to us and said, this is a great idea. We want to help you.
Right.
So they funded us, and we were able to set up the nonprofit.
Right.
I've spent, like I said, my career obviously in health education.
Right.
I know there's nonprofits.
Right.
I knew nothing else about them. So I have learned a lot over the past few years about nonprofits and how they function.
Right.
But basically, we wanted to have a way to share and connect residents and visitors in the county to the resources, whether it's a Chesterfield specific, could be our libraries, could be our mental health, could be our health department, or it could be something regional, sports backers. It could be something bigger, American Heart, or other nonprofits that offer services. There's so many resources out there, and it's hard for people to know where to find them.
Yeah, for sure.
So when we first created CFIT Community, we were looking at it as a bridge. So we wanted to be the bridge that connected people in the community to whatever they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for a trail to walk. Maybe they're looking for mental health services for their teenager. So whatever, maybe looking for financial services. So the website is set up such that people can go and look for what specific resource they might need. So that was our first thought with creating this piece. Now there has been a little bit of confusion because now we've named 3 things CFIT, and that's a little bit confusing. But this is basically the out-facing, community-facing piece.
Portion
that
of
is,
the
the Chesterfield County has been very much a partner, and we really appreciate it. But we are a separate 501c3 nonprofit that operates separately.
Well, I mean, and it's one of those things. I know Dr. Casey talks about this all the time, right? That local governments can't do everything by themselves, that there's just too much, especially on the periphery. And so you need nonprofits, you need these partners, and folks like you to do that work. One of the things I'm interested in real quick before I move to the Earth Day Festival, because you mentioned there, just a wide range of services, of things, resources that you're connecting people with. Does it make it makes sense to me that it would make things incredibly difficult the wider the amount of stuff that you provide is, right? If it's a very narrow focus, right? We help people who want to do X, right? Well, that seems like an easier thing, right? But when you open it up as wide as kind of what you were just describing, it sounds extremely daunting. How have you found that component to it? Is that opportunity and you learn even more about what people need, and then you're able to improve, so to speak, right? The offerings that you're able to offer in terms of resources.
Well, it's a little bit of both.
Right.
When you do expand, you cannot be an expert in all of these pieces.
Right. Yeah.
And so what we determined with CFIT Community was very early on, because we have a really good relationship with Chesterfield County schools and county government.
Right.
What we've been able to do with the resource piece and figuring out where to focus is there are lots and lots of programs going on everywhere to help people. We don't want to create something brand new.
Right.
Because there are generally resources out there for most things that people need assistance with.
Right.
So what we determined our role is to be not the plant, but the miracle grow.
Okay, there you go.
So what we've done, there's an example, there's a program that schools, libraries, mental health have been supporting for a number of years. It's called The Basics.
Okay.
And it basically is an initiative that came out of Harvard. It is easy tips for parents and caregivers to make sure they maximize brain development for newborns to 5 years old, where 90% of brain development happens.
Right.
So before kids hit school, 90% of their brain has already developed. So it's so important. A lot of these little tips are things that people do automatically.
Right.
Read and sing, or group and compare, or we kind of do those things automatically, but this is to let people know how important it is, and then also to give them some strategies to do those things.
Yeah.
So our Chesterfield County Schools pre-K program, they register families every summer to go into the pre-K programs that are around Chesterfield in the schools.
Right.
The people that in that program, same thing in mental health, same thing with the libraries, would tell people about this strategy. They would have a little card. This is easy. Do these things. Well, what CFIT Community was able to do, because we're separate funding, nonprofit,
Right.
we were able to come in and say, okay, let's do this. We created what we called basics kits. So now when the 700-800 families that register for pre-K every year,
Right.
they get the information,
Right.
they
Right.
get some training, but they also get this kit that has a book, and it has balls or bubbles or things that help people do these strategies.
Right. Yeah.
One really easy strategy, I have a 5-year-old grandson, and he gets worked up sometimes like most kids and most adults do.
Yeah.
So just the idea of taking a deep breath. So it's hard enough for an adult to do. When you tell a 5-year-old, 3 or 4-year-old, take a deep breath, it comes out crazy, right?
Right.
So this activity, in teaching that, you have bubbles.
Oh, yeah, because you
Now,
have
if
to
you
breathe.
blow a bubble,
Yeah.
you have to breathe in and exhale
Yeah.
very slowly.
Right.
They do not know that they are minimizing their stress.
Right.
They think they're blowing a bubble.
Right. Yeah.
So we were able to put all these things in these kits, and we have now given out thousands of them through the pre-K program. We now give them out through the WIC office at the health department.
Gotcha.
So we have ways that we're basically, we didn't create the program. We're not the leaders of the program, but we are lifting that
You're
program
supporting
up.
it. Yeah, that
Correct.
makes a lot of sense. Now, one of the things I know that you guys do is this Earth Day Festival, which I know is coming up here. As we record this, we're a little bit before April, but obviously when this runs, it'll be several days before Earth Day. So I know this is a thing that is ramping up. So I'm glad to have gotten your time now as opposed to trying to do it the week of, because that would have been a pretty hectic couple of days for you, I'm sure. But can you take us through sort of some of the background on this event and where did this idea of doing something like this come from, and why CFIT Community?
Right. So the county, this will be their 3rd year having an Earth Day Festival, and it really started in 2023 because the county has really turned its focus on environmental stewardship and things that the county itself can do and that they want to share with residents, things that they can do, recycling, a variety of different things. So in 2023, the Community Engagement and Resources Office was the lead on the Earth Day Festival. CFIT Community came in as a sponsor. So they're the presenting sponsor. They're also the presenting sponsor again this year.
Right.
So the idea in 2023 was to have a place for people to come find resources that they may be interested.
Right.
So it could be, we have our cooperative extension office, and they bring in bees and talk about bees and worms and a variety of
rain barrels. Because I
plants
feel like
and
every time
rain barrels.
every time they're around, there's some rain barrels.
Yes, and rain barrels are so cool. I now have a rain barrel myself.
Oh, nice.
We have, my daughter has one.
Nice.
They're really,
they
it's
are
awesome.
yeah,
I
they
live
are
in a
pretty great.
townhouse, and I'm able to have this little to water. My husband is big on plants, so there's always a lot to water.
Yeah.
So in 2023, that was the focus. The event is at the Fairgrounds, and it is a variety of community, Chesterfield, actually county offices, but also other community vendors. It could be Dominion Energy. It could be Virginia State University comes. They have information from their farm and those types of things.
Right.
And then we also throw in some fun things. There are inflatables for the kids. You have to have, I think every event you have to have, if the parents bring their kids, that you want a way for them to get out some energy.
Absolutely.
So they get to jump around and play.
Yeah.
Food trucks and those types, those types of things.
Yeah.
Last year when they had the event, Chesterfield was launching their Experience Chesterfield.
Right. Yeah.
Which has been phenomenal. So instead of trying to do two things close together, they decided to pair them up. So last year it was the Earth Day Festival along with the Outdoor Fest.
Yeah, right.
So that was fabulous.
Yeah.
This year they've decided, because that was so well attended, and they really have, Outdoor Fest is very focused on things that you can do.
Right, and activities.
The activity-based pieces.
Yeah.
So they wanted to separate them back out. So people have now the opportunity for Earth Day, which is this coming up Saturday, and then Outdoor Fest, which will be later in May. Both just phenomenal events, but with different focus of the resources.
Yeah, that's really cool. And certainly, being able to address not just both of those sort of boxes, but now to do them at different times, give people even more opportunities to get out and do things this spring. Because that's one of the downsides of winter, right? Is as much as we all love, some of us, I guess I should say, love, sweatshirts and, being cold. I'm a hot natured person, so winter's kind of my favorite. But it's good to get out because folks have been cooped up for so long. So it's a great opportunity in spring to have different events. Now I know coming up this weekend, obviously there's a lot to talk about for this year's festival. Can you take us through some of the things that are planned coming up this weekend for this year's Earth Day Festival?
One of the biggest thing, which we figured out last year was huge as far as the kids, was a Touch a Truck event.
For sure.
And so this is really the draw.
Yeah.
And a lot of the trucks and equipment that are there are equipment that is used to keep the county clean, or we have recycle vendors bringing the recycle trucks.
Yeah.
And besides a grandson, I also have some great nephews.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more exciting than standing on the road when the recycle truck comes up and the arm comes out and it grabs the
bucket.
It is mesmerizing.
Yeah, it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
So those types of things. But besides those equipment pieces, we also have the fire, sheriff, police will be out with some of their vehicles.
Right.
We'll have an electric bus from the school division.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have just some other, I think a great big crane from general services and utilities. And so a lot of really cool equipment.
Yeah.
And the kids really, that was big last year.
Yeah,
so what we decided with that piece was that would stay with the Earth Day Festival.
Okay.
Which actually gives the Outdoor Fest people more room for some of their outdoor adventure pieces.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
And then we do have some really good food trucks. And then a lot of the vendors range from, like I said, our crop of extension, VSU, some of the renewable energy, waste reduction, recycling, revitalization type of things. But then we also have organizations that may be focused on, one of the organizations is Chesterfield Safe, that focuses on, they're the substance abuse-free environment. So anything with youth and drug use and abuse, those types of resources.
Right.
Well, they're coming just to talk about the issue of vape pens and cigarette butts and like what that does as far as pollution and those types of things.
Smart.
So a lot of different resources that way as well.
So you get a lot of the community sort of like festival pieces that folks are accustomed to, right? The opportunities for you to do a lot of stuff, but then also you can learn a lot of different things too, which is a great combination. Anytime you can get people to learn and be active and be out, that's obviously a great thing. So that sounds great.
Yep.
Well, then I'll get you out here on this one. I wanted to ask real quick if you had any sort of, maybe let me ask you this way. What do you want people to know to take away from the podcast about CFIT community and also about this weekend's Earth Day Festival?
Well, one more thing for the Earth Day Festival. We are giving away, CFIT community will be giving away herb and produce plants.
Okay, great.
So people can come by and grab, and we'll have people there sharing information on how to grow, whether you just have a planter on your patio or whether you have something larger.
Right.
And also the same day, Chesterfield Technical Center, their plant program there, they actually are having their plant sale. And if you live, especially in the county government area of Chesterfield, this has been a big thing. The programs at the Technical Center are phenomenal.
Right.
And these kids, the things they grow and what they're producing is fabulous.
That's awesome.
And this year they're actually adding the culinary program. I think they're selling pastries.
Okay.
And so they're having kind of a highlight of a lot of those programs. Okay. And we are both on Courthouse Road. If people come down Courthouse, they can stop by, pick up their plants, and then come to the fairgrounds and visit us, which is really great.
That's awesome.
As far as CFIT community, I think our biggest thing is, like you had said, it's a really broad range of things that we support.
It's a large swath of stuff.
And a lot of nonprofits have a specific focus, and it's a dire focus, a lot of them.
Right.
So for us getting attention and getting people to know what CFIT community is, it really is more of, like I go back and say, it's the fertilizer,
it's
not the plant. But it is really open to everyone. Yeah. So no matter, you don't even have to live in Chesterfield, but the nonprofit is specifically, we are CFIT because we are Chesterfield focused. Yeah. But it could be an organization that may service people in Chesterfield, but they're based somewhere else. Right. So just looking for partners. Yeah. We really want to make sure that we connect with everyone that we can help grow,
Right.
whether it is other nonprofits or whether it's, like I said, somebody looking for a service.
Right.
So.
That's awesome. Well, Lynne, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you coming here, talking to us about CFIT community, talking to us about this year's Earth Day Festival. I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully, lots of kids out there touching lots of trucks. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
We're hoping. A lot of horns blowing.
There you go. That's right. Thanks, Lynne. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Make sure you check us out on social media. On Twitter, it's at Chesterfield VA, and on Instagram, it's Chesterfield Virginia, all one word. And on Facebook, you can check out our podcast page. Just search Chesterfield Behind the Mic. Now, make sure to follow or subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, or wherever it is that your shows are sold. And if you're so inclined to give us a rating or review, we greatly appreciate it. As always, a video version of our show is available on our YouTube channel, as well as on our website, Chesterfield.gov/podcast. That's also where you can submit feedback anytime, make a suggestion, or just reach out to us. You can watch the show on WCCT, that is Thursday through Sunday at 7, on the weekends at noon, that is Comcast Channel 98, and Verizon Channel 28. Lastly, check out Chesterfield.gov/connect with us to find out a number of other ways to connect with Chesterfield County. Thanks to my director, Martin Stith, my executive producer, Teresa, Bonifas, and all the good folks from Constituent Media Services for all they do. My thanks to you for joining us today. So, from all of us here in Chesterfield, thanks again for making us a part of your day. We'll see you again real soon. Take good care.
From blogs to podcasts. And I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again.
Weekly video segments and newsletters.
Social media, the latest community news.
And this is your Chesterfield News Minute for September 19th.
How to get in touch, and everything in between. If you want to know about Chesterfield County, our Connect With Us webpage has you covered. Chesterfield.gov/connect with us. Connect with us, your source for all things Chesterfield.